We all know that picking the spells for your class and for your character can be very circumstantial, but there's got to be some that are the best, right? Right? Hey fellow Game Masters, I'm Richard Quiner, and welcome back to the Daily D20, your daily dose of all things tabletop role-playing games, helping you build your world and master your game. And today is Spell Slinging Saturday, so today we're actually talking about something early level spellcasting, something not crazy powerful. We're talking about cantrips. That's right, at the early levels of your game, players will likely be relying on cantrips, because mainly they don't use any spell slots to cast, and they do decent performance at level 1 and 2 and 3, so it gives you a good chance for a spellcaster to cast a lot of spells early levels. So today I wanted to cover my top 5 cantrips for wizards in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Now, before we get into this, these are my opinions, they aren't your opinions, so if you have an opinion, leave it down below. Keep the conversation civil though, I'm not trying to argue with anyone, I'm just sharing you what I think about some wizard cantrips. I will also mention that at the early levels, I like to keep the wizards pretty well rounded. I want them to be able to adapt to different situations and not be too heavy-handed in one school of magic or one type of magic. And I'm talking levels 1 and 2. These can change later on as the party kind of finds its groove and the wizard finds its place in the party. But early on, you want to be able to survive and you want to be able to deal some damage to help out the party. So that's where some of these cantrips come in. They have a variety. There's some damage dealing ones, there's some utility, but they're all pretty fun to play. So let's just get into it with number 5. Number 5 is one that instantly makes the wizard useful in combat scenarios, and it's Firebolt. You can instantly start throwing fireballs at your enemies from 120 feet away, dealing 1d10 fire damage to your enemies. That's a pretty high amount of fire damage from that long range. You don't have to get in the front lines fighting, and of course at level 1 as a wizard, you're gonna be real squishy. So think of it that way. You don't want to get in the middle of it, you can stay back and just hurl fire at your enemies. In addition to that, fire is just fun. It's just kind of a classic wizard thing to do, is throw fire around. And 120 feet is further than most enemies can actually travel in a single round. So if they do approach or try to catch you, it's going to take a lot of effort from their part, which means you can just back up and keep throwing fire bolts at your enemies. Next up is probably my favorite utility spell that, strangely enough, I don't see it used as often as I might like. But that's just how games go sometimes, and it is Message. Now, Message basically lets you use your hand like a walkie-talkie. You point at a target in the distance up to 120 feet, and you can whisper something to them, only they will hear it, and they can whisper something back to you, and only you can hear that. It can also go through walls and magic silence and different things, so it's pretty powerful in terms of communication. So if you do find yourself in a situation where maybe the rogue has gone ahead a little bit and you need to communicate, why not just cast a little message, find out what's going on, and be safe and give yourself every advantage possible in that scenario. The thing with Message though, it's not very useful in combat. It takes an action to cast, and when you're in a combat situation, you probably don't need to have those little whisper conversations, but out of combat in role-playing scenarios, it's good to have a little secret communication within the party without other NPCs or other potential enemies knowing what you're talking about. Next up is the cool cantrip, Toll the Dead. Now this was not in the player's handbook, this is actually in a different book, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Essentially how Toll the Dead works is you will pick a creature within 60 feet of you, so it's still a pretty good range. That creature has to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they take 1d8 worth of damage. If the creature, though, has already been damaged just a little bit, that 1d8 turns into a 1d12 and hits a lot harder, and as a wizard, you're likely to not be the front lines getting in your fights, though I do know a couple wizards who do that, but you're likely going to be doing the second hit or third hit on a creature, which means this thing is going to hit for a d12 every time you use it. So that's why Toll the Dead just kind of showed up on the scene, became a very powerful cantrip that I think every wizard should have in their pocket as a quick, easy to use spell. Mage Hand is a spell that really has no real use in combat. You can't attack with it, you can't use magic items with it. All you can really do is pick up something that weighs under 10 pounds and move it as long as it stays within 30 feet of you. So in some ways it's not a great spell to have, but it has a lot of great utility. You can move things around, you can have it doing one thing while you're doing something else. It makes for interesting role-playing scenarios where you might be trying to sneakily move something behind somebody while they're not paying attention, perhaps. So Mage Hand makes this list, even though from a combat tactical perspective, or maybe a actual good use perspective, it might not be the best, but for me, I do enjoy having a good Mage Hand in the party. And the last of my 5 favorite cantrips for wizards, early level cantrips I should say, is Ray of Frost. Now sure, Ray of Frost, you can reach out and hit someone from 60 feet away with a d8 worth of cold damage, but the real benefit of this one for me is the slowing effect. If you reach out and hit someone 60 feet away and you successfully hit them, they are now slowed to 10 feet movement speed per turn, which means even if they use their action and their full speed and everything to kind of move, they can only get a tops 20 to 30 feet on their turn, which means they can't reach you, and the best defense for a wizard is to just not get hit. So Ray of Frost really takes the cake in terms of dealing damage and adding in some extra crowd control to your party. So what are your favorite cantrips? I know there's quite a few cantrips and everyone has their own opinion, but we're talking about wizard cantrips today. What are the ones that you enjoy using? What are your favorites? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know more about the different schools of magic and what they're used for, go ahead and click this video over here and learn more about the schools of magic. If you want to know more about the basic spellcasting classes in the game, I got the whole Spell Slinging Saturday list for you over here. And of course, if you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching.